What's going on, everybody? So as you can already tell, we are going to be changing some transmission fluid, a transmission filter, and gasket on my 2013 F-150. Went to the Ford dealership this morning to pick all this up. Got 7 quarts of fluid, got my new filter right here, and a new gasket. Now, they do say sometimes these are reusable. However, I'm going to end up just putting a whole new gasket on there. Might as well play it safe. So underneath I already got some cardboard because this tends to be a messy job. And then here's the transmission pan that we will be taking off. Now I'm kind of letting everything cool down because I had to go to the store. The exhaust is cool and you want to make sure this is cool and not going to be hot or warm. So we're going to start by taking off all these bolts except for a couple back here. Probably like this one and this one on this side and the other side, just so it doesn't fully come off. So this side will drop, drain most of the fluid out this way so we can try and keep it contained, and then take the rest of it off, change everything, clean it all out, and put it all back together. So let's go do that right now. Huh. Maybe that's where the rattle under my truck was coming from. Must not be important. Alright, so as you guys can see, I have the transmission pan off. The filter is still hanging up in there. I'm just letting everything kind of finish draining off and dripping before I start removing anything else. As I just mentioned, this clip was around my exhaust, and now that I look at it, yeah, it's like burnt. It's like it burnt and melted or welded or rusted, I mean, and burnt off. I don't know. Not really that important. It seems like I think it was just holding on the heat shield, so if anything sounds like it's going to fall off, I'll put a stainless steel band clamp on there instead of this guy, but otherwise this is going to get pitched, so we'll set that aside for now. Everything was an 8mm bolt. Sorry, I stumble my words quite often. So 8mm bolts all the way around. As you can tell, like I said, I started from this side, worked my way back, left the 2 bolts over here, just so, as you can see, it would drop down. And as I mentioned before, make sure you put cardboard or a tarp or something underneath your truck if you're doing it in your driveway or yard or what have you. As you can tell, I do a lot of stuff in my driveway. I don't have a fancy lift or shop or anything like that, so I made sure I had my cardboard down here because, as you saw, it did explode. It made a giant mess, but the cardboard kind of kept everything on there. Everything else is pretty clean. So now that everything's kind of done dripping, I will remove the filter, make sure the O-ring comes out with it, clean up the mating surface between the gasket and the pan, on both the pan and the transmission. So let me take the filter out now, and then we'll go clean the pan off and check for any metal shavings on the magnet and within the pan. So let's go do that right now. So let's drag this pan out here. Let's take a look at the magnet, and and there's some metal shavings, as you can see there. So we'll just clean all this off. Seems okay that it's not a lot, and it's not like thick metal shavings. You see? It's like little bits, but I don't know. That worries me a little bit. That worries me a little bit that there are some metal shavings on the magnet, but as long as they're on the magnet, and the truck does only have 16,000 miles now, or not 16, what am I saying? 61,000 miles. So yeah, it was about due for transmission flush. Not flush, but. So I'm gonna clean all this up. Here's the old gasket that they say is reusable, supposedly, but again, rubber tends to go bad after a while. It can dry out, so I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna put a new one in there. What's a $20 gasket in the long run of a $5,000 to $10,000 transmission? So let me clean this up, and I will be right back with you guys. Alright, just got the panel cleaned up. I did not spray it with any brake cleaner or carb cleaner. I simply just took rags and wiped everything down, wiped everything out of it, made sure it was clean, no leftover gunk or fluid or whatever was in there, and it turned out pretty alright. Now with the new gasket, there's a part number for it. Oh look, my truck's a Ford GT. It's a race car. Just kidding. They have that on all the parts. So really, if you buy Motorcraft, you're buying parts for a Ford GT, which uses the same engine. It's the same thing, right? No, I know. Anyways, that's the wrong way. So I'm not gonna worry too much about cleaning up the rim of the pan, because the real sealing point is this rubber piece on the gasket. And as long as this is clean, which it is pretty much all the way around, that's what you have to worry about. So here's a new gasket. It's the right one. Good, it all matches up. So that will end up back in the truck. So let's go install this back in the truck and add some fluid. Alright, so there's my funnel. I got the tube coming off the funnel into another tube that's going over the frame. And then, so here's another view of that tube going to, you can kind of see it right here, this tube that's moving over the exhaust, over the frame, coming down right into the fill hole, because, well, I don't have one of those fancy pumps, and this is the way I'm going to do it. So let's set the camera up here so you guys can probably see it somewhere. Well, I'll set it up. Or if I don't set it up, then I'll just show you afterwards when I'm done filling it. But let's see if I can set it up in a way where you guys can see it. Alright everyone, so just finished up, cleaned up all my tools, all the fluid is in. Nothing seems to be dripping from underneath, which is always a good thing. Try to clean up as much as I can on the exhaust pipe, but it'll burn off, I guess, right? Exactly. One thing to mention, this sheet came with the gasket. It just says to tighten the bolts for any 2013 and prior models to 99 pounds inch, and then 2014 and on to 80 pounds inch, and that's roughly about 8 foot-pounds, 8 to 9 foot-pounds, 8.5, somewhere around there. If you're going to use a foot-pound, but try and get a pound-inch torque wrench. It'll just be a lot easier. But otherwise, everything is done. I put all the old fluid in the 7 containers that the guy told me I should just do a transmission flush, because when you do the filter, you're only going to use about 3 quarts. This one's full, this one's full, this one, this one, this one, this. Oh wow, look at that, 7 quarts. Yeah, I really used only 3 quarts. Anyways, not the point. Point is, it's all done. So now it's got new fluid, a new filter, and the guy was even trying to tell me, the service person, not the parts department, but the guy at the service desk, because I was thinking about just getting a transmission flush and seeing if it was like an extra 30 bucks for the filter or whatever. But it ended up being $230 for the filter and fluid change. So I opted out of that, and he's like, well, you know, you're only gonna use 3 quarts and you really don't have to change the filter. And I'm like, really? No, I'm gonna change the filter, because the filter seems like something you gotta change, just like when you change your oil filter. You don't just flush the oil out and leave the same filter, do you? Anyways, that's done. That's something off my shoulders that I don't have to worry about for another 30,000 miles. Transmission's good. Next thing you do is coolant flush, and I don't know if I'm gonna do it or if I'm gonna have a shop do it, just because it's less of a hassle for them to do it, flush the system, take care of the coolant, because now I gotta take the transmission fluid in. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a big like. If you didn't, go ahead and give it a dislike, but let me know what I can improve on for next video. And as always, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, because I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys later. So bye.